Goodness to you. This is Sporty King. And I always say goodness because I don't know if it's morning, afternoon, or evening when you're watching the broadcast. But isn't that the blessing of technology? You can make the choice. But look, welcome to Gift Friday. I created it because so often we hear TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. But I say, what allure does Friday have to that person that took their last breath on Thursday? So therefore, I share what I learned through Psalm 92, Psalm 92 and 2. And that is, it is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning, your faithfulness in the evening. Therefore, instead of TGIF, I like to say TGIT. Thank God it's today. And then TGIT, thank God it's tonight. Because think about it. What does it cost for you to be blessed with the greatest gift of the day? Waking up. And then there's the lesson I learned from Matthew 6 and 34. You see, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have its own worries. Instead, today's trouble is enough for today. TGIT, thank God it's today, thank God it's tonight. So I'd like you to look at TGIF in a different way. I'll give you an alternative. Let's use it as trusting God is free. Trusting God is free. That gift of waking up is always going to be a freebie that we enjoy. And we take it for granted, but you know what? It's been granted. See, don't let the English language control you, control it. But let's recognize that when we move the T in TGIF from the beginning to the end, we get GIFT, gift. And we find out what we should be really giving God thanks for, and that is the gift of today. So Gift Friday is GIFT. God is for today. God is for today. And Gift Friday is an online sharing of one of my original poems and its possible uses to inspire audiences online or in person. Now, each poem will be my gift to you. Here you hear me read it and share this week's gift. Then you'll be able to click on the link and download your keepsake colorful copy. Today, we'll continue through this pandemic that many people have learned new things about themselves and their beliefs. So I've chosen a poem that speaks to the ongoing need for being empathetic. This week's poem is from my book, I Found Out I'm Living, an affirmation of life. And the poem is Love's Merry-Go-Round. The book I Found Out I'm Living, an affirmation of life highlights one of the subliminal messages that we have to learn in life. You see, this book is actually the sequel to my book, I Found Out I'm Dying, a celebration of life, which is a book that talks about how important it is to release the physical self so that you can, when you release the physical self, you'll find out just how alive you are. So you have to embrace the spiritual self and affirm that gift. So both books remind us that we have to see the headline but not get caught up in it. The lesson is usually in the subtitle. So just as the title of this poem is Love's Merry-Go-Round, it will still highlight the unwritten subtitle of how important it is to be understanding and empathetic as we go through love. This is Love's Merry-Go-Round. You say tomato, you say tomato, I say tomato. You say love, I say love. You say below, I say above. What would life really be like if we were all on the same page? If, as passengers, we saw no reason to turn or change the scenery because straight is good enough. What if we were all on the same page? You say dais, I say dais. If, as observers, we appreciated only the opulence of the mountain, with no regard for the trees, the sky, the clouds that provide its majesty. Or as thinkers, we settle for the theory of least resistance, agreeing that there are no options, no alternatives, no need to consider one more route. Oh, I say route, you say route. Would you only jump out of a plane in a designer parachute? You see, our tastes are all the same, namely, different. Your opinion doesn't have to mirror mine. So, when dealing with a subject as complex as love, agreeing that we may disagree is simply fine. By the way, do you like red or white wine? See, love is in every relationship, each activity, all we undertake and do. Love can be easily seen as fleeting, just as easily as it's felt as new. It's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adverb, the most misused word in the English language. Its meaning evolves as daily as life unfolds. We believe in love when it's new. We question it when it's old. Yet one thing we can agree on is that love belongs to our senses. We see it, taste it, hear it, smell it, touch it. We feel it, each of us in a different way. And we can all agree that love goes up and love comes down. The beauty is that it does it again with new passengers, like a merry-go-round. You say neither, I say neither. What's important is that you say what you feel. Love belongs to our senses, and to each of us, it's as different as it is real. Love's merry-go-round. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sum up the poem with 4 lines from the poem that ride us through another part of today's message. The first line is, what would life really be like if we were all on the same page? What would life really be like if we were all on the same page? You see, our tastes are all the same, namely different. You see it, you taste it, you hear it, you smell it, you touch it. Love belongs to our senses, and to each of us it's as different as it is real. Everybody is probably shaking their head, yes, with hearing that last line right there, because we are each at a different emotional level in our lives. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13 is about love. The Bible I read is called the Touchpoint Living Bible, and it gives modern day application to scripture. And then sometimes it'll have what they call a touch point, which is a word that tells you what that scripture is about. It's like kind of like having a concordance if you're familiar with Bibles, but it's not on every single scripture. It just shows up every now and then. So 1 Corinthians 1 through 13 happens to have a touch point. And the touch point in 1 Corinthians 13 is love. And in this case, the touch point also gives us an exercise, which I will perform for us after I read it. But here's the touch point in 1 Corinthians, and it says love. 9 times out of 10, when people say love, they mean something else. They might be expressing the highly emotional state of falling in love, which sees love simply as an overwhelming feeling. They might be confusing love with the selfish physical desire of lust. But they seldom have in mind the kind of selfless, courageous, and forgiving love Paul describes in these timeless words. A good way to check your own understanding of love is to substitute your own name for the word love and reread the chapter. How does reading it in this way show you how your understanding and practice of love need to grow? So I'm going to take a little poetic license and I'm going to reread 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. And I'll replace the word love with sporty. I won't just say sporty, but I'll tell you, give you a version of sporty. If I could speak in any language in heaven or earth, but didn't give sporty to others, I would only be making meaningless noise like a loud gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and if I knew all the mysteries of the future and knew everything about everything, but didn't give sporty to others, what good would I be? And if I had the gift of faith so that I could speak to a mountain and make it move without sporty, I would be no good to anybody. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't give sporty to others, I would be of no value whatsoever. Sporty is patient and kind. Sporty is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. Sporty does not demand its own way. Sporty is not irritable and it keeps no record of when it has been wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but it rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Sporty never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Sporty will last forever, but prophecy and speaking in unknown tongues and special knowledge will all disappear. Now we know only a little, and even the gift of prophecy reveals little. But when the end comes, these special gifts will all disappear. It's like this. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child does. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now we see things imperfectly as in a poor mirror, but then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete, but then I will know everything completely, just as God knows me now. There are three things that will endure: faith, hope, and sporty. And the greatest of these is sporty. Obviously, you saw I replaced my name with love. So every time you heard my name, that's where sporty was. I mean, every time you heard my name, that's where love was in the scripture. So I recommend that you go through and try that, give that a test and read it through about yourself. But a good way to check your own understanding of love is what I just did, is to reread the chapter and substitute your own name for the word love. And it's not blasphemy, but a reminder that the greatest thing you can know and should know is the last thing, right? What's the last thing it says? It says three things that will endure: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is sporty or love. It says that the greatest thing that you should know is yourself, and that through love of yourself. Thus, today's message also is the final connection to my affirmation self, S-E-L-F, self-esteem, love's foundation. And you see, I always say liking yourself is the base and the bonus of love. You have to like yourself, because we've never said, oh, I don't love me, but have you ever said, I don't like the way I look in this outfit. I don't like the way I just did that. I don't like the way I felt when I said that. You see, we tell our spirit, I don't like you. I don't like you. We've got to say, I like the way I look. I like the way I just did that. I like how I feel about that. And I'm not saying that we won't say these other things, but we don't say the good ones. We don't tell our spirit what we like about ourselves. Once you like yourself, you'll have something full to give to someone else, because you'll have a full love and appreciation of who you are. So self-esteem is that roller coaster to match love's merry-go-round as it goes up and down throughout our lives and according to our experiences. Yet, when you love yourself, you have so much more to give. that meets the eye while also flooding the senses. Like yourself, love yourself, and enjoy God's gift of the ride and my gift of the poem in the thread shortly after this broadcast. Love, life's a merry-go-round, but sporty, and you and the gift. God is for today. Thank you. Have a wonderful, safe weekend, and I'll see you next week. Over and out. Ciao.